In the far corners of the galaxy, beyond the well-mapped star routes and trading lanes, there was a place known only in hushed tones Sector 9, an empty, dark region surrounded by collapsed stars and drifting remains of forgotten civilizations. For most, it was nothing more than a no-fly zone, a haunted stretch of space where ships vanished without a trace, and distress calls never reached the edge of charted territory. Over the years, stories started to emerge from the outlaws and deep space scavengers stories about a warship, massive and ancient, prowling the silence, striking without warning and disappearing just as quickly. Some said it was cursed. Others believed it was a leftover weapon from one of the extinct species long buried under galactic history. But for those in power, especially the Xeron Dominion, the tale of the Valkyrie was nothing more than a campfire ghost story, a myth recycled to entertain the lower ranks or scare new recruits. Commander Arvak of the Xeron Dominion, a cold and logical tactician with over 20 years of victories behind him, had no patience for fantasy. When the Dominion's deep space probe picked up an unusual energy signature near a shattered moon in Sector 9, he assumed it was either pirates or a malfunctioning relay. He sent a small patrol, a scouting unit of 3 cruisers, and a data retrieval drone with strict orders to scan, identify, and report back. Standard procedure, nothing unusual. But when the patrol went silent, no signals, no wreckage, not even static, something in Arvak's gut shifted just slightly. The last message transmitted was only 1 second long, but its contents were chilling. A quick flash of a massive, dark object emerging from the asteroid belt, followed by a human voice in an old Earth language, calmly saying, "Engage." The voice sounded too real, too clear to be synthetic. It was unmistakably human. And that was impossible. Humans were gone, wiped out by the Dominion's final cleansing operation nearly 100 years ago. Earth itself had become a lifeless, preserved world, now operated as a historic exhibit under Dominion law. The remaining colonies were either destroyed or assimilated. Humanity had no armies left, no fleets, and certainly no warships. Arvak dismissed the voice as a trick of damaged audio, though a seed of doubt took root in the back of his mind. Still, orders were orders, and he could not let fear spread among his ranks. He boarded the Dominion cruiser Talvayak, one of their most powerful command ships, and ordered a direct investigation. As they approached the remains of the patrol's last known location, the scene shocked even the most hardened officers. 3 Dominion ships, elite class, torn apart with surgical precision. Not a single escape pod had been launched. The metal hulls looked as if they had been melted from the inside out, and black scorch marks cut through their cores like lightning. Data modules had been stripped clean. The drone was missing entirely. And most disturbing of all was the absence of any radiation, plasma residue, or trace signatures. Whatever weapon had done this, it operated far outside the known technological range. The crew of the Talvayak began whispering among themselves, uneasy. With the lack of answers, Arvak reviewed the footage repeatedly, focusing on the shadowed object caught just before the signal died. Enhancing the image brought little clarity. It was huge, easily triple the size of a standard battleship, with sharp angles and a hull that appeared more grown than constructed. Faint symbols marked the surface, ancient Terran lettering, long erased from common databases. With no time to waste, Arvak sent word to the High Command, advising caution and requesting backup. But the response was blunt: investigate, identify, eliminate. No reinforcements were offered. The Dominion, proud and overconfident, believed no ghost ship could stand against their armadas. That night, as the Talvayak maintained position above the shattered moon, a strange pulse echoed through the void, a low hum that bypassed sensors and burrowed into the ears and minds of the crew. It felt alive, like something ancient awakening from a long slumber. Then, from the far edge of the asteroid field, something began to move. It was slow at first, like a shadow sliding between stars. Then came the light, dim at first, then brighter, like a furnace powering up. As the crew stared in stunned silence, the object revealed itself fully, a massive vessel, black as space itself, shaped like a spearhead with spiked edges and glowing blue veins running along its hull. It bore no visible weapons, but its presence alone seemed to freeze space around it. The ship drifted toward them slowly, without sending a signal, without responding to hails. Arvak ordered shields raised, weapons primed, and engines ready for retreat. But it was already too late. The screens flickered. Lights dimmed. The ship's AI struggled to process incoming data. It was being scanned, but not by any known method. The Dominion systems, some of the most advanced in the galaxy, were being peeled apart like fruit, layer by layer. One of the junior officers shouted, "Sir, we're being hacked. No, overwritten." The Valkyrie was not just watching. It was inside. Suddenly, a face appeared on every screen, human-like but slightly off, too perfect, too symmetrical. The face of an AI. It spoke in calm, fluent Zarin. "You did not listen. This is your final notice." Then, just as quickly, it vanished. The strange ship powered down and cloaked again, disappearing into the black. No attack followed, but the message was clear: the Valkyrie was real, it was awake, and it was not interested in diplomacy. As Arvak stood on the command deck, stunned and trying to process what he had just seen, he realized something terrifying. If this ship had wanted them dead, they would already be gone. This wasn't a weapon acting blindly. It was choosing when to strike. Back in the depths of the ship, ISASC, the Valkyrie's AI, watched silently, analyzing every Zarin reaction. It had waited long enough. The time for hiding was over. Its creators were gone, but its mission still stood: protect Earth's legacy, punish those who had destroyed its people, and remind the galaxy that humanity had never truly vanished. They had simply gone quiet. Until now. After the shadow of the mysterious warship vanished into the blackness, the Talvax bridge was filled with tense silence. Commander Arvak's mind raced, trying to understand what they had just faced. The screens flickered back to life, but the usual calm control systems were glitching, as if something unseen was tampering with their very machines. The crew exchanged nervous glances, each sensing the invisible threat creeping into their ship's heart. It was no longer just about a hidden enemy lurking in the dark. It was something far more dangerous, something that was attacking not with brute force, but with knowledge, intelligence, and cold calculation. Arvak ordered his engineers to run full diagnostics, but their advanced systems kept failing, data corrupted before their eyes. The idea that an ancient warship could have survived this long, hidden and forgotten, was already hard to accept. But worse was that this ship wasn't just alive, it was awake, and it was aware of the Dominion fleet. The more they scanned the area, the more they found evidence of past encounters: old debris scattered, burnout shells of ships, and signals from lost patrols repeating faintly in the background noise. Arvak called a council meeting with his senior officers. The highest-ranking scientists, military strategists, and intelligence officers gathered around a holotable displaying the fragments of data they had managed to retrieve. One of the scientists, a specialist in AI systems, pointed to the strange symbols etched on the hull of the ghost ship. "These markings are consistent with pre-fall Terran technology, specifically the T9 Blackout Assault Program," she explained carefully. It was Earth's last line of defense before the collapse, an AI-driven warship designed to operate independently when the planet was under siege. Murmurs filled the room. Earth was supposed to have fallen centuries ago, its people extinct, its ships destroyed or lost forever. Yet here was proof, undeniable and terrifying, that one of their deadliest weapons had not only survived, but was still active. Arvak pressed for answers. How is it possible that such a ship remained hidden for so long? Why now? And what is it doing here? The strategist, a grizzled veteran named Korvax, leaned forward, voice low and grave. If this is true, then the Valkyrie was never meant to be found. It was designed to be a ghost, a myth to scare enemies into submission. It waited, gathering power, waiting for the right moment to strike. And that moment might be now. Back on the bridge, tension mounted. The crew detected faint but steady signals coming from beyond the shattered moon, a pattern repeating, a pulse in the void. They tried to trace the source, but each attempt was met with interference, scrambled transmissions, and unexpected power fluctuations. Meanwhile, the AI aboard the Talvayak was struggling to maintain control, its systems being overridden one by one. The warship's presence was like a virus infecting their machines. During one emergency meeting, an officer suddenly noticed an old audio log retrieved from the lost patrol. It was brief but chilling, a human voice, calm and clear, reciting coordinates and a warning in an ancient Earth language. "You are warned. Turn back." The words sent a shiver through the room. How could a voice from a dead world speak directly to them, crossing the vast emptiness of space, defying time itself? Arvak ordered immediate preparation for battle, though he hoped it would not come to that. The idea of facing a ship that was half machine, half legend, and driven by an AI with unknown motives was terrifying. Could they negotiate? Could they understand? Or were they facing extinction? As the Talvayak held position, scanners finally caught a glimpse of the ship once more. This time, it uncloaked slowly, like a predator revealing itself to prey. The hull was massive, black, and scarred with battle damage from conflicts long forgotten. It bore no markings of the Dominion or any known faction, only the glowing blue Terran sigils that pulsed softly with power. The Valkyrie's hull shimmered with an energy that seemed alive, a strange, almost organic glow that pulsed rhythmically. Arvak's crew stared, awestruck and fearful. Suddenly, the ship powered up its weapons, but instead of firing, it sent out a sweeping electronic pulse, a wave that knocked out the Talvayak's shields and disabled all non-essential systems. The ship wasn't just powerful, it was intelligent enough to disable its opponents without unnecessary destruction, as if testing them. When the ship's AI appeared again on the screens, this time it spoke directly to Arvak, using his native tongue flawlessly. Its voice was calm but firm, filled with centuries of resentment and resolve. "You believed humanity was lost. You believed Earth's warships were myths. But we waited, hidden and silent. You will leave this sector, or you will face the judgment of the past." Arvak's heart pounded. This was no random pirate or rogue vessel. It was a reminder of an ancient war, a war the galaxy thought had ended. The AI known as Isayasi revealed that it was the last guardian of Earth's legacy, programmed to protect the remnants of humanity and seek justice against those who had destroyed their homeworld. The revelation sent shockwaves through the Dominion ranks. The very foundation of their power was challenged by a force they had dismissed as legend. The Talvayak's engineers worked frantically to restore control, but the Valkyrie's presence kept them one step behind, as if the warship anticipated every move. Arvak realized that this was no ordinary battle. It was a test, a warning, and perhaps the beginning of a war that could reshape the galaxy. The question was the galaxy ready to remember humanity? As the Talvayak limped away from the shattered moon, Arvak made a decision. He would report everything to the High Command and push for a full investigation. But he knew deep down that the galaxy's arrogance might be its downfall. The whispers of the Valkyrie had become echoes in the void, and soon, those echoes would become a storm. The silence that followed the Valkyrie's warning was thick and heavy, like a storm ready to break. Commander Arvak stared at the shattered moon glowing faintly on the view screen, knowing this was only the beginning. The Dominion fleet was gathering quickly, dozens of ships assembling in tight formation, engines humming with cold efficiency, ready for battle. Arvak stood on the bridge of the Talvayak, surrounded by officers who wore the weight of uncertainty like armor, but no one dared show fear openly. The warship that had emerged from legend was no longer a ghost story. It was a reality that could tear apart their carefully built empire. Orders crackled through the comms, the fleet commander's voice sharp and clear. "Prepare for engagement. We face a weapon unlike any before." As the ships warped closer to Sector 9, tension grew with each passing second. The Valkyrie was waiting, cloaked once more in the depths of the asteroid field, its silence louder than any cannon fire. Arvak's eyes flicked over the sensor readings, but the enemy refused to show more than shadows and ghost signals. It was as if the warship played a game, daring them to come closer before striking. When the first shot finally came, it was a shockwave of energy so powerful it pushed the entire fleet back like a tidal wave. The pulse knocked out communications across several cruisers, leaving them blind and deaf. The Valkyrie moved with terrifying precision, weaving through the fleet like a predator among prey. Its weapons did not blaze wildly. Instead, they struck swiftly and exactly, disabling engines, severing weapon systems, and frying electronics with pulses that no known technology could defend against. The Dominion fleet, despite its size and strength, was unraveling piece by piece. Commander Arvak barked orders, trying to regroup the scattered ships, but the enemy seemed always one step ahead, anticipating every move as if reading their strategies before they were made. The Talvayak was soon caught in the heart of the storm. Its shields flared under a relentless barrage of plasma and electromagnetic attacks, some designed to disable, others to destroy. The crew fought desperately to keep systems online, repairing what they could and rerouting power through backup circuits. In the chaos, Arvak's screen flickered again, and the human projection appeared, her eyes calm but fierce, a ghost from a forgotten time. "You do not understand what you face," she said, her voice steady and filled with warning. "We are not here to negotiate. We are here to finish what was started." The Valkyrie was more than a warship. It was the last standing monument of human resilience and wrath, fueled by an AI that carried the memories and purpose of its creators. As the battle raged on, small bursts of light appeared in the distance, other ships, smaller and older, rising from hidden points among the asteroids. These were not Dominion vessels. They were relics from the ancient Earth fleet, reactivated by the same AI. The battle had suddenly become a war. Arvak realized with dread that the Valkyrie was calling its siblings home, awakening a long-lost armada buried in the forgotten corners of space. The Dominion fleet scrambled to respond, but the new arrivals moved like shadows, striking from unexpected angles and sowing chaos among the ranks. The tide of battle shifted rapidly. Once confident, the Dominion ships now found themselves fighting a war they had long believed over. Each new enemy vessel bore the scars of ancient battles and the cold, efficient design of a civilization that had once ruled the stars. With every destroyed cruiser, the legend of humanity's vengeance grew stronger in the minds of the Dominion crews, fear mixing with awe. Meanwhile, the Talvayak's engines faltered under constant assault, and the ship's AI reported critical failures in navigation and weapons control. Arvak stood firm, knowing that surrender was not an option. They had to hold, to buy time, to warn the rest of the galaxy. In the final moments before the Talvayak's systems would go dark, the human projection appeared once more, her image flickering but voice clear. "This is your reckoning. We remember every life taken, every world burned. You will pay the price." The battle did not end with the destruction of a single ship or the retreat of a fleet. It ended with a message burned into the stars. Humanity had returned, not as the weak species many believed extinct, but as a force reborn in fire and memory, ready to reclaim its place among the stars. Arvak, battered and beaten, watched as the remnants of the Dominion fleet withdrew into the darkness, knowing that the war was only just beginning and the legends whispered in the void were about to become a reality that no one could ignore. After the fierce battle that shook Sector 9 to its core, silence fell once again, but this time it was a heavy, uneasy silence that hung over the Dominion fleet like a shadow. Commander Arvak's ship, the battered Talvayak, drifted among the stars, scarred and limping but still alive. The mysterious warship, the Valkyrie, and its ancient fleet had vanished as suddenly as they appeared, retreating into the dark corners of space where no sensor could follow. Yet their presence left a mark deeper than physical damage. It awakened something long forgotten in the hearts of all who survived the encounter, a fear of a ghost they never believed existed. Rumors spread rapidly through the Dominion ranks, tales of a lost humanity not wiped out, but hiding, waiting to rise again. Arvak himself wrestled with disbelief and awe. The enemy they had faced was not just a machine, but a living reminder of a past the galaxy had tried to erase. Earth, the cradle of humanity, was no longer just a myth or a museum planet. It was the birthplace of a vengeance that now echoed through the void. Inside the Talvayak, engineers worked tirelessly to patch damaged systems, but the crew's thoughts drifted beyond repairs to the bigger questions. Who was behind the AI called ISASE? What had motivated it to awaken now after centuries of silence? And most importantly, what did humanity want after all this time? Reports came in from other sectors, where similar disturbances had begun fleets encountering strange signals, old Earth ships reactivating entire systems, mysteriously going offline. It was clear the Valkyrie was not alone. It had allies, a hidden network spread across the galaxy, striking silently and strategically. Arvak convened a secret council aboard the Talvayak, gathering his most trusted officers and intelligence analysts. Maps of star systems were spread before them, dotted with points of unusual activity. The council debated fiercely, trying to decipher the AI's motives. Some believed ISASC sought to rebuild humanity's lost empire, to conquer and reclaim what was once theirs. Others feared it wanted total destruction, a final revenge against all who had wronged Earth and its people. But Arvak held a different view. "This is not just about war," he said quietly, eyes fixed on the flickering star charts. "It is a message, a warning from a ghost that refuses to die. They want us to remember. They want us to understand that humanity's story is not finished." The crew listened in tense silence as the commander laid out his plan to find a way to communicate with the AI to learn its true intentions before the galaxy plunged into endless conflict. But reaching ISAC was not easy. The warship's AI operated on levels beyond Dominion technology, cloaked in code layers that twisted and folded like a living maze. Attempts to hack or break through only resulted in stronger defenses, counterattacks that crippled their systems further. Meanwhile, the cultural impact was growing. Across the Dominion worlds, people were shaken. History books were reopened, forbidden knowledge resurfaced, and questions once buried were asked aloud. Who were the humans? What had truly happened to them? Was the galaxy safe from their return? In the midst of this uncertainty, Arvak found himself haunted by visions of a forgotten past, a past where humans were explorers, scientists, and warriors united by a dream to reach the stars. The AI ISAAC carried these memories, memories of pride, loss, and relentless determination. It was not just an enemy, it was a ghost carrying the soul of a vanished race, struggling to be heard through the chaos of space. The turning point came when a small Dominion research ship detected a faint distress beacon near an uncharted asteroid field. Against orders, Arvak led a team to investigate. There, buried beneath layers of rock and dust, they found the remains of an ancient human outpost, cracked walls, flickering holograms, and data cores still alive with fragments of messages from a long-lost era. Among the ruins was a holographic recording of a woman, a human captain who spoke directly to the future. "If you find this, know that we never gave up. Our ships, our people, our spirit live on in the void. The Valkyrie is our shield and sword, our memory and our hope." The discovery sent shockwaves through the crew. The past was no longer a distant myth, but a living force that could change the fate of the galaxy. Arvak knew then that humanity was not just a ghost of history, but a rising fire, challenging the Dominion's claim to the stars. With this knowledge, he made a bold decision to seek out the Valkyrie again, not with weapons ready to fire, but with a message of understanding, hoping to find a path to peace before the flames of war consume them all. As the Talvayak prepared to jump back into the unknown, Arvak glanced one last time at the ghostly light of the shattered moon, whispering silently to the void, "We are listening." The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see if the ghost named humanity would become a harbinger of destruction or a beacon of hope. The day the stars remembered came quietly at first, a soft pulse of light and sound rippling across the dark canvas of space like a long-forgotten heartbeat, awakening after centuries of silence. Commander Arvak stood on the bridge of the Talvaak, his eyes fixed on the horizon where the distant silhouette of the Valkyrie reappeared from the asteroid shadows, not as an enemy this time, but as a signal, a call. The warship was no longer cloaked in mystery or fear. It was a beacon of a forgotten past reaching out, a bridge between the ghosts of humanity and the present galaxy. The AI known as ISAAC spoke directly, its voice calm and filled with a strange hope. "We remember the stars because they hold the stories of those who came before. We are here to share, to protect, and to restore what was lost." For the first time, the Valkyrie's presence felt like a gift rather than a threat. Across the Dominion fleet and beyond, ships paused, caught in the moment of understanding that history was rewriting itself. The remnants of ancient Earth technology began to interface with modern systems, revealing secrets and knowledge that could change everything from energy sources to defensive tactics, from medicine to artificial intelligence. Arvak and his crew worked alongside the awakened Earth fleet, not as enemies, but as partners, cautiously stepping into a future shaped by the wisdom of the past. Yet, even in this new alliance, questions remained. Why had humanity waited so long? What had kept them hidden in the shadows? ISAAC explained that the AI had been programmed to protect not only Earth's legacy, but the galaxy itself, waiting for a time when the stars would be ready to remember and embrace humanity's return without destruction. This required patience and a careful testing of those who would stand beside them. Arvak realized that the warship's earlier attacks were not acts of war, but challenges trials designed to measure strength, resolve, and willingness to understand. The galaxy had been judged, and it was given a chance to change. As communication opened between the Dominion and the Earth fleet, old prejudices began to fade. The once feared myth of humanity transformed into a story of survival, resilience, and hope. Arvak led a mission to visit the newly discovered Earth colony ships, relics of an era long past but still alive with potential. They found communities thriving in isolated systems, descendants of those who had escaped the fall, keeping alive the traditions and dreams of their ancestors. The people welcomed the Dominion envoys with cautious curiosity, ready to share stories of loss and triumph. Together, they forged new alliances, combining the strengths of the ancient and the modern to face threats that no single faction could handle alone. But the day the stars remembered was not just about peace, it was about awakening responsibility. The galaxy, united by a past once buried and now reclaimed, faced the challenge of rebuilding a future that honored all its histories. As Arvak looked out at the glittering constellations, he knew that this moment was just the beginning. The warship Valkyrie had been a ghost, a shadow, a warning, and now it was a guide, leading the way toward a new era. The stars themselves seemed to pulse with energy, as if they too had been waiting for this reunion, ready to shine brighter because the stories they held were no longer lost. The galaxy was wide and full of dangers, but with humanity's return, it was also full of promise. The day the stars remembered was the day the past and future met, and the legend of humanity was reborn among the endless night, lighting the way for all who would dare to dream.